Hello, my name is Victor and welcome to this Pilates workout. So let's begin. I'd just like you to have your feet hip width apart, arms relaxed by your side. So from here, just draw your shoulders up towards your ears and then drop them down. And we'll do this one more time. Lift the shoulders up towards your ears and then drop them down. So just like you to interlink your fingers, push the palms of your hands forwards. As you do that, you're going to draw your chin down towards your chest. Reach the arms up overhead, lengthening through the spine, and then take your arms out wide. Okay, interlink the fingers, push the hands forwards, draw your chin down towards your chest. Reach the arms forwards, lengthening through the spine, taking the arms out wide. And we'll do this one more time. And release your arms by your side. So from here, I'd like you to take a side bend over to your right and return to center, and then take a side bend over to your left and return to center. So just moving from side to side, and I want you to focus on moving your upper body. So we want to keep the hips and the legs still as you move from side to side. So on your next repetition to your right, we're going to take your left arm across your body and lift your left arm up. As you bring the left arm up, you're going to bring yourself up to standing. And now side bend over to the left, take your right arm across your body, lifting the right arm up to bring yourself up to standing. We'll do this one more time on each side. And one last time to the left. And lifting up. Okay, so just take your arms straight ahead, shoulders drawn away from your ears, just bend your knees slightly, and then with your left arm, I'd like you to take your left arm out behind you. So following your hand with your eyes, taking the arm out behind you as far as you feel comfortable, and then come back into center. And now over onto the right hand side. And return to center. So we're creating a twist through the body. So we're allowing the head, the neck, the shoulder, the spine, the hips to go with the movement. And just listening to your body, making sure that you're not forcing the movement, just working with what feels comfortable for those areas. And we'll do one more repetition going to the left. And one more going to the right. Okay, so now bring your hands onto your hips. We're just going to come into a hip hinge. So I'd like you to hinge forwards at the hips, maintaining the length through your spine. Just bend your knees slightly and then push back up to standing. So hinging forwards, maintain the length through the spine, keeping your chin slightly tucked in so your eyes are looking down towards the ground as you hinge, and then are looking straight ahead as you come up to standing. So you may feel a bit of a stretch through the lower back, through the hamstring muscles. Okay, and we'll do one last repetition. Okay, good. So bring your arms alongside your body. We're just going to come into a squat, so sitting your hips back, reaching forwards with the hands, and push back up to standing, keeping the chest lifted, weight into your heels. So just taking the squat as far as you feel comfortable, and we'll do one more repetition. And push up to standing. Okay, so now just bring your feet together. I want you to imagine that you have a step to your left hand side. We're going to step over that imaginary step. So we're going to start by lifting your left foot off the floor, so you can lift as high or as low as you want to. You're going to take it over that imaginary step. As you do that, we're going to bend the right knee and then gently place the left foot down on the ground. Shift your weight over to the left, and now peel your right foot off the floor and lift your right foot up, over and down. So now moving to the right, lifting the right foot up, taking it over that imaginary step, bending the left knee. This will help you to maintain your balance, to control the movement. Gently place the right foot down, shift your weight over to the right, and then lift your left foot up, over, and down. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time in each direction. So you should be moving as if you could stop and be able to hold that position at any point. So the slower you go, the easier it is to control. And we'll do one last repetition going to the right. Okay, good. So just bring your feet back to hip width apart. I'd like you now to lift your heels up off the ground and then lower your heels down to the ground. So pushing through the balls of the feet, lifting the heels up, and then slowly lower the heels down. So just be aware of your ankles rolling outwards as you lift. As we lift, we want to keep the ankles in line with the legs and control the movement down. So now we're going to lift the heels up, keep your heels lifted. I'd like you to bend your knees, then lower your heels down to the ground and extend through the legs. So pushing up through the balls of the feet, bend your knees, maintain the balance, lower your heels down and extend through the legs. We'll do this one more time. Okay, so now I'd like you to bend your knees first, then lift your heels up off the ground, keeping the knees bent. Push through the balls of the feet to extend through your legs, and then lower your heels down to the ground. So bending your knees, lift the heels, extend through the legs, and lower. We'll do one last repetition. Okay, good. Interlink your fingers, bring the palms of your hands together. I'd like you to roll your wrists around in a circle, so focusing on using both hands equally as you do this. So you may hear a few creaks, a few cracks through the wrists, through the hands. That's completely fine. Okay, so bringing your hands into center, we're going to release your fingers, interlink your fingers the other way, and now roll the wrists around in the other direction. And return the hands into center. Okay, bring your arms alongside your body. I'd like you to draw your chin down towards your chest, draw your shoulders forwards, roll down through the spine. I'd like you to roll down onto your hands a level with your knees, and then slowly roll up, restacking the spine, bringing your shoulders into place, lifting the head up last. Okay, we're going to take the movement further this time. Draw the chin down, bring the shoulders forwards, roll down through the spine. So now I'd like you to roll down onto your hands a level with your ankles. And then slowly roll up, restacking the spine, bring the shoulders into place, lifting the head up last. Okay, and we'll do this one more time. Bring your chin down, draw the shoulders forwards, rolling down through the spine. So now I'd like you to bring your hands into contact with the ground. So bend your knees if you need to. And then from here, slowly roll up, restacking the spine to return to standing. And once you come up to standing, we'll just take 3 shoulder rolls backwards. Okay, so we're going to make our way down to the ground now. So draw your chin down towards your chest, bring the shoulders forwards, roll down through the spine, backbone by backbone to bring your hands into contact with the ground, and then walk your hands out into a plank position. So we're just going to hold this plank position, shoulders drawn away from your ears, elbows are soft. And we want to focus on the breath. We want to make sure that we're not holding the breath, making sure that the hips aren't lifting too high as we hold this position. If you want to make it easier, bring your knees down to the ground, uncurl your toes, and hold the plank in this position here. So either on your hands and knees or on your hands and feet, focusing on the breath, making sure that you're not changing your position. Might start to shake a little bit, that's completely fine as long as you're able to maintain good form. Okay. So now I'd like you to bring your knees down to the ground. If they're not already, uncurl your toes. I'm just going to sit your hips back over your heels and just bring your forehead down to the ground. Okay, so just have the palms of your hands flat on the ground. Then from here, we're going to lift your hips away from the lower legs, rounding through the spine. So drawing your chin down towards the chest, rounding through the spine. Then from here, start to move your hips, your ribs, your chest forward. So we take the spine into a bit of extension, shoulders drawn away from the ears. Then sit the hips back to come back into that shell stretch into your start position. Lifting up, chin tucked in, rounding through the spine. And then moving the hips the ribs, the chest, forward, shoulders drawn down away from the ears to take the spine into extension. We'll do this twice more, sitting back, just working at your pace, not forcing the movement, really focusing on controlling the movement through the spine. Your breath is relaxed, the shoulders are drawn away from the ears. And we'll do one last repetition. So once you finish your final repetition, we're going to come onto your hands and knees. Have your shoulders directly over your wrists, your knees hip width apart. And we want to draw the shoulders away from the ears. Okay, so on your next breath in, I'd like you to slide your left hand forwards and your right foot back. So fingertips of your left hand down on the ground. The toes are down on the ground of the right foot. And then breathe out to slide your left hand and right leg back into your start position. And now right hand and left leg, and return to center. So we're trying to avoid any side to side movement. We want to keep yourself centered as we're doing this. So we're controlling the movement with the arm, with the leg out, and then controlling that movement back in. Making sure after each repetition that your knees are still hip width apart. So you want to avoid the knees becoming closer and closer together, which will affect your balance. So taking your time as you do this, no rush. Want to focus on that control, that stability through the body. So we're going to do one more repetition, taking the left arm forwards. And one more, taking the right arm forwards. Okay, and then come back into center. So we're going to come down to lying on your stomach, and I'd like you to rest your forehead on your right hand and have your left hand roughly in line with your left shoulder. So both the arms, both the hands are light on the ground. I'm going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're just going to rotate and twist to the left. So the arms are quite light on the ground. We're focusing on using the back, using the spine to twist. And breathe in, breathe out to lower. Breathe in, breathing out to rotate, looking back over the shoulder. Breathe in, breathe out to lower. So keeping those hands, those arms light on the ground as much as you can. So we're creating a twist through the body, a twist through the spine. We'll do this one more time. And then lowering down to the ground. So we're going to change over. So now, resting your foreheads on your left hand, right hand roughly in line with your right shoulder. Taking a breath in, breathing out. Now lifting, rotating to the right. Breathe in, breathe out to lower. So remember, keeping the hands, the arms light on the ground. So you should feel that you're able to create that twist whilst using the upper body, using the spine, rather than pushing through the arms. So use your breath. Breathe in, breathe out to lift and twist. Breathe in, breathe out to lower. And we'll do one more repetition. Okay, good. So once you've finished your final repetition, I'd like you to rest your forehead on both your hands, shoulders drawn away from your ears. I'd like you to have your belly button slightly drawn in towards your spine. So we're looking for a 20% pull-in of your belly button in towards your spine. So we're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, I'd like you to lift your left leg away from the ground. So you're lifting from the hip, the hamstring muscles. Breathe in to lower. And now, as you breathe out, lifting your right leg away from the ground. And breathing to lower. So we're keeping the arms, the upper body relaxed on the ground as we lift and lower. So as we're lifting, we're getting this sense that we're trying to reach as far back behind you with your toes. So we're lifting, lengthening through the leg, reaching far back. So now we'll do one more repetition with the left leg and one more repetition with the right leg. Okay. And once you've finished your final repetitions, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push through your hands. We're going to take that shell stretch again, sit back over your heels, bring your forehead down to the ground, have the arms extended straight ahead. Okay, so I'd like you to come back up onto your hands and knees. Have your shoulders over the wrists, the knees hip width apart, shoulders drawn away from the ears. I want to have the elbows soft. So we're just going to do a cat-cow movement. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to tuck the tailbone under and round through your spine, drawing your chin down towards your chest. And breathe in, tilt the tailbone up, allow your ribs to draw downwards, shoulders to move away from the ears, and then finally lift your head up straight ahead. Okay, so breathe in, breathing out, tucking the tailbone under, rounding through the spine, draw the chin down. Breathe in, breathing out. To look up. So taking your time as you move from one position to the next. Okay, and we'll do this one more time. So one more time, rounding through the spine, taking the spine into flexion. And one more time, taking the spine into extension, looking up. Okay, good. And come back into center. So I'd like you to grab your block or your pillow and then place it so that you can come down to lying on your right hand side. So you're going to rest your head on your block. And then from here, I'd like you to have your left arm extended straight ahead. You're going to have your waist slightly lifted away from the ground. So we're going to have a small gap in between the waist and the ground. And I'd like you to have both your hips, both your knees at a 90-degree angle. And then with your right hand, you can have your right hand resting lightly on your right hip. So we're going to take the right leg around in a circle. So we're going to start by lifting your right leg away from the left leg. So as you're doing that, you want to lift up as far as you can without allowing your hips to rock backwards. So once you lift up, then from here we're going to take the right leg back, down, and then forwards to complete that circle. So moving around in a circle, really focusing on keeping the upper body still, keeping that gap between the waist and the ground. And we also want to keep a 90-degree angle at the knee. So controlling the movement as you're moving around, keeping the upper body still. So the bigger the movement, the harder it is. So work on a range of motion which will challenge you, but at the same time isn't so difficult that you start moving around with the upper body. So just be mindful of your breath as you're moving the leg around in a circle, making sure you're not holding the breath. And we'll do one last repetition in this direction. Okay, good. So coming into center. Now we're going to change direction. So we're going to start with the right leg slightly lifted away from the left leg. And then from here, taking your right leg back, start to lift up and circle forwards. So controlling that movement around, keeping the upper body still, keeping that gap between your waists and the ground. And then making sure that we're not pushing the left arm down into the ground. We're going to keep the left arm relaxed as much as you can as you're moving. Okay, we're going to do this one more time. and come back into center. Okay, so bring your legs together. And now I'd like you to place your right hand on top of your left hand. So both your arms are in line with your chest. And then from here, we're going to lift your right arm up. I'd like you to follow your right hand with your eyes, taking your arm out behind you as far as you feel comfortable. And then bring your right arm back up, placing it back on top of your left hand. So just doing what feels comfortable for your neck, your shoulder, your spine, not forcing the movement, keeping the legs together as you twist. Okay, so now we're going to do a slightly different variation. So with your right arm, you're going to take your right arm upwards to pass over the top of the head, taking your arm out behind you. And then I'd like you to lift the right arm up as you did before. So the same movement pattern, bringing the right hand back on top of the left hand. So to start with, we're going to move the right arm as if it's one of the arms on a clock. And then to come out of the movement, you're going to move your right arm as if you're closing a book. Okay, so moving upwards, passing over the top of the head, taking your arm out behind you, and then closing like a book. Still focusing on working with what feels comfortable for you. Okay, so now we're going to do the reverse. So we're going to start by opening out like a book. And then we're going to take the right arm upwards as if it's an arm on a clock, passing over the top of the head, bringing your right hand back on top of your left hand. So again, listening to your body, not forcing the movement. And we'll do this one more time. Okay, good. So now I'd like you to come to lying on your back. So lying on your back, I'd like you to have your feet and knees in line with your hips, your arms relaxed alongside your body. And from here, you're just going to tilt your hips backwards so you close the gap between your lower back and the ground. And now start to peel your spine away from the ground. So starting with the hips, the lower back, rolling up through the spine, lifting up onto the shoulders. And now slowly roll down through the spine, backbone by backbone, bringing the hips down last. So tilting the hips backwards, rolling up through the spine, keeping the hips level, keeping your knees in line with your hips. We also want to keep the arms relaxed on the ground, so making sure you're not pushing into the ground with the arms as you're rolling up and rolling down. Okay, so we're going to add some extra movements now. So from here, tilting the hips backwards, you're going to roll up through the spine, lifting up into your shoulders. And then maintaining the height of your hips, you're going to lift your heels up off the ground, lower the heels down, and then roll down through the spine, backbone by backbone, bringing the hips down last. Okay, tilting the hips backwards, rolling up through the spine, lifting up into the shoulders, maintain the height of the hips, lift the heels off the ground, lower the heels down, and then roll down through the spine. So still keeping the arms relaxed, taking your time with each repetition. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a different variation. So now, tilting the hips backwards, roll up through the spine, lifting up into your shoulders. Lift the heels up off the ground. And keeping the heels lifted, I'd like you to drop your hips down. Lift the hips up, bring the heels down, and then roll down through the spine, backbone by backbone. Tilting the hips backwards, rolling up through the spine, controlling that movement up. Lift the heels up off the ground. So dropping the hips down, so we're hinging at the hips. Drop the hips down, keep the heels lifted, lift the hips up, bring the heels down, roll down through the spine. Okay, we'll do this one more time. So once you finish your final repetitions, lift your feet up off the floor, take a hold of your knees, pull your knees in towards your chest. Just take a small rock from side to side, just massaging your lower back against the ground. And then bring yourself into center. If you have any back issues, then I'd like you to roll over onto your right hand side and bring yourself up to seated. If you don't have any back issues, keep a hold of your knees, start to rock forwards and backwards, building momentum to bring yourself up to seated. So now we're going to come over to lying on your right hand side. So grab your block, your pillow, place it onto the other side. We're going to come down to lying on your right hand side. So resting your head on your block, have your right arm extended straight ahead. Going to have your waist slightly lifted away from the ground and have both your hips, both your knees at a 90-degree angle. Okay, so we're going to start by taking the left leg around in a circle. So lifting the left leg up, taking it back, down, and forwards to complete that circle. So maintaining that gap between your waist and the ground as you're moving your left leg. And we want to keep the left knee at a 90-degree angle. So especially as you start to take the leg back, we want to avoid extending through the leg. So keeping that knee at a 90-degree angle as we move. So just working with a range of motion that you can control, so you're not making it super big. You should feel that you're able to control the movement from the left hip whilst keeping the upper body still. So we're going to do one more repetition in this direction. Okay, so now we're going to change direction. So starting with the left leg slightly lifted away from the right leg, taking your left leg back, lifting up and circling forwards. So working with the same level of control, the same pace. Especially when it starts to get a little bit more challenging, we tend to rush it to get it over with. So still want that same focus, that same level of control. The right arm is relaxed on the ground, waist slightly lifted away from the ground. And we'll do this one more time. Okay, good. So bring the left leg down on top of the right leg, and now place your left hand on top of your right hand. So we're going to come into that chest opener exercise. So we're going to start by lifting the left arm up, following your left hand with your eyes, taking your arm out behind you as far as you feel comfortable, and then coming out of that twist, coming out of that rotation, bringing your left hand back on top of your right hand. So listening to your body, making sure you're not holding your breath, being aware of forcing the movement. It's not necessary for your arm to touch the floor. If it touches the floor, great. If it doesn't, equally great. So just working with what feels good for you. So you may also feel that one side feels a bit easier than the other. That's quite normal. I just want you to focus on this side and how this side feels. Okay, so now with your left hand on top of your right hand, we're going to take the left arm upwards to pass over the top of your head, taking your left arm out behind you, and then lifting the left arm up to close like a book. Okay, so taking the left arm, passing over the head, so moving as if it's one of the arms, one of the hands on a clock, and then closing like a book. Again, listening to your body. So now we're going to change direction with this. So we're going to open out like a book first. So taking your left arm out behind you, following your hand with your eyes, taking the left arm upwards to pass over the top of your head, and then bringing the left hand back on top of your right hand. So just doing what feels good for your body. Should feel quite nice for your neck, your shoulder, the spine. Shouldn't feel any discomfort. And we'll do this one more time. And then come back into center. From here, just bring your left hand in towards your body. Push through the left hand. I'd like you to come up onto your hands and knees. Have your shoulders over your wrists, the knees hip width apart, elbows soft. So from here, we're just going to take the spine around in a lateral circle, so in a sideways circle. So we're going to start by going to the right. So we're going to move the ribs, the spine, going to the right, then up, over to the left, and down. So we're just moving around in that circle. And we're not bending the elbows, we're not allowing the elbows to bend. We want to focus on the movement coming from the upper body, from the torso, from the spine, the rib cage. Moving around in a circle. And we want to try and make that movement as smooth and as controlled as possible. And as you're doing this, you can play around with the speed. So you can go quickly if you wish, or you can go super slow, taking your time, enjoying that movement through the spine. You can also work with bigger ranges, so a big range of motion, or we can go small. So it's entirely up to you as to what you work with. It's all about you. It's how it feels for you, how it feels for your spine, how it feels for the body. Okay, so we'll do this one more time in this direction, and then coming into center. So now we're going to change direction. We're going to start by going to the left. So you're going to move your rib cage, your spine to the left, and lift up, going over to the right and down. So you may find one direction feels a little bit easier than the other. Again, that's completely fine. Just want you to stay focused on this side in terms of how it feels. And then, as before, playing around, going with different speeds, different ranges of motion, going slowly, going quickly, big range, small range. So it's entirely up to you as to what feels good for your spine. And we'll do this one more time. And then come into center. Okay, so from here, just like you to sit back over your heels, So just sitting comfortably, just like you to interlink your fingers behind your head, and then just draw your elbows in and just allow your chin to drop down. So as we're in this position, I want you to make sure that you're not pulling down on the back of your head. You're soft into this position. And then from here, we're going to lengthen through the spine, start to lift the chest, lift the head, take the elbows out wide. And then soften into that rounding of the spine. So drawing the chin down, elbows in, just soften, soften, soften to roll. And slowly rolling up, lengthening the spine, lifting the chest, lifting the head, taking the elbows out wide. So just taking your time as you move from one position to the other. And we'll do this one more time. Okay, good. So now return your hands back to the ground. Come down to your hands and knees. I'd like you to curl your toes under. And then walk your hands back towards your knees. Lift your knees away from the ground, extend through the legs. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, slowly roll up through the spine to come up to standing. And once you come up to standing, I'd just like you to take 3 shoulder rolls backwards. Okay, and then take a deep breath in, reach the arms up overhead. And breathe out to bring the arms down. Okay, breathe in. And breathe out. Okay, and we'll do this one more time. Deep breath in, reach up high, lengthen through the body. And breathe out to release. Okay, and we are all done for today. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions or feedback, please comment, and I'll see you very soon.